Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to the Dreamerspro Show. And today I got a pretty interesting topic for you guys. And the topic is why Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are the most dangerous duo in these playoffs. So that's what I want to get into in this video today. But before we get into that, I want you guys to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because remember, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Another thing worth saying is that the Dreamerspro Show is on Spotify, and we're trying to get it up on iTunes as well, but the Spotify link is in the description below, so you guys can definitely check that out. For people that like to, listen to podcasts. Some people enjoy consuming podcasts that way, so that's definitely available for you guys. We also did a recap video. Excuse the noise in the background, there's some cars going by. We also did a recap video where I gave my thoughts and opinions on the first game one between the Dallas Mavericks and the Clippers. So make sure you watch this video to the end. We're gonna put that in this. We're gonna link that as well in the end of this video, so you guys can definitely check that out, just to get my thoughts and opinions on that game if you're interested. So without any further ado, let me just go ahead and get straight into the content. So I saw the game between the Clippers and the Mavs last night. And it was an interesting game. It was a game of runs. Clippers went up early. Mavs came back, took the lead, and the Clippers caught them, and then took the lead, and then they won the game. We all saw that. But in watching that game, it made me think of Kawhi and Paul George. Now, I've done videos like this before, talking about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, on why I think they are, a really great duo, why I think they could possibly be the best tandem in the NBA. But all of that was just, me sort of making projections into the future. The difference is here, though, is that we have evidence now of them actually playing. Remember, in the past, we were just making sort of predictions, there was no season, etc. But now we have games and we have some evidence to go off of. And after watching that game between the two teams, it crystallized some ideas that I had in my mind, and it drove some of them further home. The first thing that makes me think that these guys are the most dangerous duo in the NBA, okay, is their ability to score. On any given night, Paul George can go for 40, Kawhi Leonard can go for 40 on any given night. We all know this. However, what makes these guys unique is how they score. Okay, they score in a myriad of ways. It's not like, for instance, a Steph and Clay. We know that probably 70% of the shots that Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are going to be getting, or 70% of their offense, rather, I don't know what this guy's doing outside, comes from the three-point line. These two are a three-point making machine, the two of them. They get a lot of their shots from the three, but if I asked you, where do you think the majority of the shots of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard come from in the game? I don't think you'd be able to tell me. I think they have a balanced attack. If you look at Paul George, although he shot 50%, let me repeat it, 50% from the three-point line in the bubble, okay, 50%, Paul George can get his buckets from anywhere. He can decide that in one game, he's just going to exclusively attack the basket, and he'll be very efficient at that, like a Kyrie Irving or maybe a LeBron James or any one of these players. If Paul George decides that he's going to take exclusively three-point shots, he can go and shoot 50% from the three-point line and get you 6-7 three-pointers in a game. If he decides that he wants to get his game from the mid-range, he can give you a steady diet of that all game long. If you look at Kawhi Leonard can do exactly what I just mentioned about Paul George. However, to take it a step further, Kawhi Leonard is the best post player on that team and one of the best post players probably in basketball. Why do I say that? You say, but how can he be one of the best post players in basketball? He's better than Joel Embiid and all that. Yes, and I'll tell you why. Kawhi Leonard learned to play offense from the best post player that played in basketball when he was playing. That's Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was the best. He was the best post player when he was playing in basketball, period, in the story. Some of you guys may say it's Tim Duncan, others, I'm going to say it's Kobe. Kobe Bryant was the best offensive player. If we're talking about skills, he was the best I've ever seen. When Kobe wanted to learn offense from the post, he went to Hakeem Olajuwon. If you guys want to understand what I'm saying, go look at Kobe prior to training with Hakeem and after, and you'll see the difference. Kobe was the best post player. If you look at Kawhi Leonard's footwork in the post, if you look at his ability to hit fadeaway jump shots, his ability for them to run the offense through the post, run the game through him out of the post, is unbelievable. That's a small forward. When the Lakers were playing with Powell and Kobe, they would run their offense through Kobe through the post as a two guard. So that's where Kawhi Leonard learned to play his offense, and I think Kawhi Leonard has the best post game in basketball, certainly for any wing player. And he can beat you in the post, in the three-point, in the mid-range, where he is deadly. I think he's the best mid-range shooter in the game, right up there with Kevin Durant. And then you look at these two guys; they can beat you pretty much from anywhere. So they're very hard to guard. They're not like Stephen Curry, you're chasing him around screen. Same thing with Klay Thompson. These guys, they can pull up and hit a three in your face right there with you on them. I've rarely seen Stephen Curry pull up in an ISO action and just hit a three-point in your face. I rarely see that happen. So that's one thing. The second thing is their ability to play elite on the ball defense. Okay, there are levels to it. These guys, you can put them on one person and they'll play defense on that guy all game long. Okay. However, in most cases, what we see in the NBA, we see a lot of players using picks. And once you get on the pick, then there's a switch and then you're playing somebody else. But if we're talking about on-the-ball defense, these guys are elite. And I think Kawhi Leonard is the best on-the-ball defender in the NBA. If we're looking at his size, his defensive awareness, his wingspan, his strong hands, you can't put the ball in front of Kawhi Leonard. He's going to strip you. Paul George has some of the quickest feet laterally and the quickest hands on defense, and he understands how to play angles very, very, very well. So I think that they are elite on-the-ball defenders. If we also look at their ability to switch on defense on the perimeter, it's something that no other team has. You may say, well, the Lakers have LeBron and AD is a defensive player of the year candidate. Is LeBron picking up a lot of guys on the perimeter? And you may say, well, LeBron James shut down Kawhi Leonard, and we'll see. We'll see when they meet. We'll see what happens. But for me, they can switch on pretty much anything. If you look at their offensive games, it matches perfectly because of their ability to catch and shoot and move without the ball. If you look at Kobe was an exceptional scorer without the ball in his hand. Kobe can move without the ball. That's why Kawhi Leonard doesn't have a high usage rate, nor does Paul George, because of the ability to move without the ball, which makes their offense more fluid, which makes it a little bit harder to stop them. But if they have the ball in their hand, constantly pounding the ball, defenses can key in on them. But when you have these two guys that can spot up and hit threes and hit open jump shots, it's really hard, catch and shoot, especially Paul George. Paul George is lethal coming off of screens, catching and shooting from the three-point line. So I think their ability to catch and shoot and play off of each other offensively is another thing that makes them the most dangerous, tandem, especially in these playoffs. Now, another thing is their chemistry off the court. I listened to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in some of their press conferences, and they spoke about how during the lockdown, they really got together in the gym, just the two of them, and they started working on each other's games, pointing out different areas where they feel like they can improve, which I think is something that's very useful when you have two of the best players on the same team doing that. They build a lot of their chemistry off the court, and I think when you're closer with the person you're working with, you guys maybe, go to dinner or go to lunch or whatever, do different things away from work, you guys build a stronger chemistry. Sort of similar to what Marco and I did, okay? Marco and I, yes, we worked together, but when we were in college, we would go running. We'd go running together. I remember we would always go running. We can get anybody to run. In the beginning of the week, everybody in the campus was going to run with us. By Saturday morning, it was just me and him. And we would go out and we would run. I think at one point we ran, we ran 20K together, and when you build chemistry away from work, it helps you when you're at work because you bond. And I think that's something that's really helping them. Another thing is I think both of these players understand their roles very well, okay? Paul George knows he's the second option, but he knows that if called upon, he may need to step up and be the first option, meaning if Kawhi Leonard is having an off night, Paul George needs to be able to sense that and then take over games offensively, which I said in the beginning, he has the full potential to. It's one thing to have a running mate that you get along with, you have great chemistry with, but if the guy can't really deliver. When you have somebody that you know can deliver for you and hit shots and get buckets, it puts even more confidence in you. You know, it gives you more confidence to trust that person a little bit more, and vice versa, which is another thing that both of these guys have. I don't ever see a scenario in the playoffs where something goes wrong and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George starts pointing fingers at each other. I think there's a high likelihood of that happening with other tandems out there. I'm not going to say any names, but I don't see them as being someone, a bunch of guys that are going to be blaming each other and pointing fingers when things go wrong. Another thing is that I think they have the blueprint of MJ and Scottie Pippen. They play essentially the same positions, but these guys were elite wing defenders, elite perimeter players. But Paul George is a better scorer than Scottie Pippen. Okay, he's a better scorer than him, and in that instance, I think that this tandem is a little bit more lethal. Now MJ is a better scorer than Kawhi, but I think it balances out a little bit better because they both can play elite defense. But the fact that they've seen a team constructed similarly with two wing defenders that just dominated basketball, they have a blueprint. They can always go back and extract some inspiration and say, okay, how are these guys able to do it on a night in and night out basis? And I think they have a formula in front of them if they want to look at that too, look at those two. And that's the reason why Max Kellerman always points to MJ and Scottie Pippen being the blueprint and being the evidence that a good, two great wings is a formula for winning multiple championships, and I think that formula is there for them. And finally, I was listening to Paul George at the end of the first game between the Mavs and Clippers, and he said Kawhi's, I'm speaking verbatim here. He says Kawhi's talent is that he allows us to stay poised during moments of adversity. And I think that's powerful because Paul George understands something that, which I said earlier, I think last year, which is one of the reasons why I said the Toronto Raptors are going to win that NBA title, was I said Kawhi Leonard has this ability to affect his teammates with his demeanor. He's always calm. Even when things are going right, when things are going wrong, he's always calm. So he's always in this emotional pocket where you never see him being fazed by what's happening around him, and as a result, it has a positive effect on his teammates. And soon, what happens is they begin to adopt that same demeanor, which is what you saw with the Toronto Raptors. Okay, many a times with the Raptors in the past, they'll get flustered, and then things will just fall apart. Everything will just go downhill for them. But I think Paul George is beginning to see that on him, and Kawhi Leonard doesn't get flustered. When Paul George was playing with Russell Westbrook, when he was playing with Russell Westbrook, and you have Russell Westbrook as your primary ball handler, and you see him getting fouled out because he's going back and forth with Ricky Rubio. Imagine having that type of teammate, and this is the guy you're supposed to win with. So Kawhi Leonard is in a class of his own. But what that statement also lets me know is that Paul George understands his role, and he knows that Kawhi Leonard is the leader, which is another reason why I think they're going to work well together because they understand their role. So for me, I think they are definitely the most dangerous duo in the playoffs. And I'm no longer talking about what I think. I'm talking about what I know and what I've seen. And for me, this is why I think so. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you think that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the most dangerous duo in these playoffs? Or do you think it's another team, or you completely disagree with me? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, don't forget to check out the recap that we did on the game before, so we're going to link that here somewhere in the video so you guys can go ahead and check that out. Once again, this is Charleston from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.